Hey there, friends and fiends. It's your pal Cerberus, and welcome to the third annual Vor20 Special. And this is the special where I usually celebrate the absurdity and propaganda of old drugsploitation films. And last year we did a little bit about cannabis culture and the origins of things like the 420 phrase and so forth. But this year, as you can see, things are a little bit different. It is 2020, in case you're watching this in the future. It is now 4/20/2020, and as you can see, I'm not coming at you from the studio. I'm doing this on the webcam today, and that's because as we are now all under some kind of stay-at-home order in most states at least, or under at least some national guidelines of social distancing and washing hands and stuff like that, and what businesses can be open and cannot, or should and should not. A lot of weird things are happening right now in America, and because of it, this has become the face of America now. You turn on the television and newscasters are broadcasting out of their living rooms instead of the studios. I watch kitchen shows, and a lot of the hosts are now cooking in their own kitchens and broadcasting on their phones even to produce content without having to gather together in order to produce it. So here I am in honor of all of that, using my webcam on this one, and plus, don't tell anybody, but I'm really down to the wire on getting this done, and I thought this might be a little quicker, but it seemed to fit. So like I said, this show's going to be a little bit different because things are a little bit different. And I'm mixing it up. I'm not doing a regular longer feature. I do have a half an hour segment near the end, but for the most part, this is all going to be a mishmash of shorts. And about half will pertain to drugsploitation, and about half will be kind of about the situation we're in and the but pandemics and so forth, kind of addressing some health and stuff. Some of it in a fun way, some of it straight. So be careful. A lot of the video footage that you'll see in this has been manipulated heavily, so don't quite trust anything and everything that you see here tonight. You probably noticed some warnings and disclaimers in the opening credits. But anyway, I digress. Like I say, about half pandemic show, about half drugsploitation. Some things have been changed, some things have not. But before I tell you more about what's coming up, let's see this right here about the importance of soap and water and covering up when you sneeze and cough.
Washing your hands with soap is possibly the simplest way to flush pathogens down the drain. Soap molecules can interact with pathogens, such as coronavirus, leading to their destruction. Each soap molecule has two parts. The head is hydrophilic, which means it likes to interact with water, while the lipid tail is hydrophobic, which means it wants to get away from water to find similar water-avoiding particles. This is the basis of how soap works. When soap molecules encounter lipid particles on our skin, the tails aggregate around them to form spherical structures called micelles, creating a water-free environment. Similar things happen when they encounter enveloped viruses such as coronavirus. Envelope viruses carry their genome and supporting proteins inside a lipid bilayer membrane, with the proteins necessary for infection embedded in the membrane. In cells and viruses, these lipids are packed neatly into two sheets with the lipid tails facing inward. The lipid ends of the soap molecules are attracted to the lipids in the membrane. They take advantage of the presence of membrane proteins which can perturb the neatly organized bilayer to insert themselves into the viral membrane. If there is only a small amount of soap, the soap molecules only loosen the membrane. But with more soap, they begin to create micelles around membrane lipids. They are also attracted to hydrophobic amino acids in the membrane proteins, extracting them from the membrane. The structural integrity of a virus is essential for infection. So, washing your hands with soap protects you better from infection than washing with only water. and the longer you lather, the higher your chance of destroying the virus.
You may have many people who like doing this sort of thing. They're a nuisance, I agree, but pretty harmless. You have certainly found people like this. They're not a nuisance. They're a real. Hi, stop it, you. Stop it. Come here. What do you think you're up to? You've probably infected thousands of people already. What do you think this is for? Yes, that's all right, but here's another way of using your handkerchief. Now sneeze. Come on. All right, never mind. Close your eyes. Now, handkerchief. Sneeze. Sneeze. Handkerchief. Got it? Fine. Understand? Handkerchief, sneeze. See what I mean? That's the idea. Now you can carry on.
Hey, little dude, send your mama and daddy out of the room. I gotta get you up on this. You know who I am. Snake, dealing in weed, coke, crack, your choice. Take one hit and you'll do anything to cop more. Steal from your mama, lie, cheat on your homeboys. But hey, that's the price you pay when you deal with dudes like me. Now, some folks will tell you that I'm dealing in poison. But hey, do I look like the kind of guy that would do that to a kid like you? Yes!
Yeah, can I get 99 tacos for 2 cents?
We can't do that.
I'm looking at the sign, and it says 99 tacos for 2 cents.
Dude, it's 2 tacos for 99 cents.
That's even less.
Pick up 2 of Jack's classic tacos. They're totally tasty, and at 99 cents, totally affordable.
You weren't really going to eat 99 tacos, were you?
No. Yeah.
And there you have it. That is how soap works in order to make all the bad germies go away. It's really important. And also, you know, I just had to throw in the whole sneezing handkerchief use there, Guy. I cobbled that together years ago with the Academy of Higher Learning shows I used to do. You can find those on the Vortex's YouTube channel if you want. I'm real proud of some of that work, and you know, that guy, that little clip there just seemed perfectly relevant to the stuff that's happening today. Coming up after this, I've got some pro tips on how to break out of that funk you would get in for those of us that are stuck at home doing, you know, the whole stay-at-home order thing. You know, if you're one of those people that have been self-quarantining or just spending a hell of a lot more time at home than normal. Even if you're out there on the front lines of healthcare or one of the essential workers out there, your off time is all spent quarantined at home, you know. So sometimes the walls are closing in on you when that goes on, and I've got some great tips on how to break out of that and how to prevent that coming up after this. And let's see. Oh, what I've got coming up is called Drugs in Our Culture. It's a little remix I did. I cut down 30 minutes down to about 10 or 11. And this one is a little trippy, a little weird, a little funny, a little oddball. It features some great music from Murdered by Robots in it. Come check this out, man. I'm real proud of this. Man, listen to me. Come check this out, all of you friends and fiends. And I hope you really enjoy it. And when I come back, I'll give you those pro tips on things to do when the walls start closing in.
I'm James Fadiman. On this program and on the 6 which follow, we will be exploring the world of drugs, the complex issues raised by drugs in our society, and particularly the rising concern with drug use among children in elementary and junior high schools. Now you may say, this doesn't concern me, or my children, or my community. But this is less and
perhaps the largest single group of drug abusers or misusers are housewives and truck drivers and professional people who use amphetamines for reasons other than weight loss or as antidepressants or treatment of narcolepsy.
They really know where to get drugs, and I feel it's easier to get acid or speed or something than it is to buy bubble gum in a store because you have to wait in line.
We have found here in our area that one of the most effective approaches to young people is to chat with them. The only way we can get kicks, and the only way we can have a meaningful party, the only way we can get pressures off our backs, and the only way we can cope with situations is through a chemical.
I'm sick of your crying and moaning and sighing in spite of my trying to be a good wife. My wash is the brightest, my baking the lightest, my teeth are the whitest you've seen in your life. My energy's draining from all of this straining. You're always complaining and sticking the knife.
Maybe I'm being a little fastidious. Sorry I said that our marriage was bad. I could have said horrible, maybe you're hideous, but if I did, you would probably get mad.
He's being despotic.
She doesn't make sense.
I'm feeling neurotic.
I'm terribly tense.
I'm being rejected.
I'm always suspected.
What's his complaint?
She makes up with pain.
I'll go home to mother.
I'll find me another.
Was happy I ain't it.
I'm sick of restraint. You hear my complaint that you make up like that. And you're letting your figure go, figure go, figure go, figure go, figure go.
Wait a minute. Don't let nervous tension make you fit to kill. Take that little blue pill.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
My nerves disappearing, my tension is easing, I find you more pleasing. I'm losing my tension, my fists are clenching, I'm able to live with and no longer am. I'm feeling so happy, so merry and snappy, I feel so excited, completely delighted, we're living in bliss, now forgive me a kiss, now our marriage will say bye-bye to those who fail. 2 after dinner, you'll be a winner.
Call up my mother, you'll need another.
3 when you get up, 6 when you're fed up.
4 when you're lazy, 12 when you're crazy.
Crazy, crazy, get up, get up, hey.
It's stimulating, mind-expanding, safer to use than alcohol. It's the in thing, the hula hoop of the jet generation, and as much a part of growing up as smoking corn silk behind the back fence. Such are the myths concerning marijuana. Myths that lull thousands of young people into experimenting with obnoxious weed. The facts are otherwise. Marijuana is an intoxicating, mind-muddling drug. Its use can lead to abnormal behavior, to psychological dependence, and to abuse of other drugs. The human brain, after all, is made for thinking, not fumigating. It's hardly a tinker toy for experimenting with drugs. This has been a public service message of the American Medical Association and your local station.
I think a joint's a little bit more strong than a martini because, well, some people a martini can really throw them flying, but a joint usually always takes you, gets you high, and martini, you just feel a little bit better. You don't really get to the point where you can't drive a car or anything.
A lot of doctors say you recommend like a glass of wine or a small drink when you come home to relax you, but marijuana does a little more than just relax you, I think.
One joint wouldn't do all that much unless it was pretty powerful, but I think if you just want to relax a little bit, that's why a lot of people smoke. Just to relax themselves a little bit. I don't say if you're disgusted, go home and get stoned, you know. That's not the idea. But I think some people drink socially, they call it, but I think a lot of adults drink just because drinks are going around.
Really not much different than teenagers.
I don't think so.
Finally, we will see children and adults working together to better understand each other and consider drug experimentation.
The adult world and an increasing number of young people as well have accepted and are living the industrial slogan of better living through chemistry.
Advertising is essential to the drug manufacturer. Advertising teaches, directs, and channels our uncertainties about illness, medication, and mood-changing drugs into specific products to buy. For the next few days, notice these products and notice how they are advertised. Consider what attitudes your children are learning. But the basic message of these and other advertisements is that the quality of life can be improved through drugs. It would appear that we are living in a drug-conscious and a drug-using society.
Drugs are here to stay. They've been here for quite a while. People of all age levels use them, be it from the very young or to the very old.
But I want to make this clear. Marijuana should be legalized, but what causes me a shock, if I may say so, is that people are treated as criminals, and I said to myself that something ought to be done about it. 2,000 affidavits filed by people. All of them said that marijuana was not harmful, and most of them said marijuana was not harmful because they themselves had used it. Violations of the law for drug use shall not be punished by criminal sanctions. The penalties are much too severe.
Some of the drugs taken are simply for the hallucinogenic effect. They can take downers or uppers or middlers. It's almost as if one were sensory hungry and that the hunger somehow in suburbia was not met. And if there's any common phrase used as to why youngsters are taking drugs or doing the more bizarre or way out things, it is that they are bored.
They are often lonely, sometimes confused, and often very idealistic young people who are trying to find some meaning in life through the hippie culture and through the use of drugs. Young, sensitive, bored, maladjusted, searching, or curious. Children are attracted to drug experimentation in a drug-oriented society. Ours is not the first culture to grapple with the attractiveness of drugs.
So therefore, we must prepare them to make these decisions. And if we believe in education, then we must believe in knowledge, and the knowledge that helps them make these decisions.
You know, if you were to follow a busy doctor as he makes his daily round of calls, you'd find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" Once again, the brand named most was Camel. Yes, according to this repeated nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Why not change to Camels for the next 30 days and see what a difference it makes in your smoking enjoyment? See how Camels agree with your throat. See how mild and good tasting a cigarette can be.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed making it. Again, special thanks to Murdered by Robots for the music. We really appreciate all that you guys do for us here in the horror community, or the horror host community, I should say, writing all those theme songs and stuff, you know. I promised you some pro tips on what to do when the walls start closing in a little bit, when you start getting that cabin fever, when the having to stay home and being grounded, essentially. You know, it's like being grounded by your mom when it starts to close in a little bit on you. I've got a few things here you can do. There's quite a bit of them. Pick and choose as you like. Your mileage may vary. This isn't meant to, you know, cure or diagnose anything. It's just some good ways to alter your environment in order to help influence your insides, your emotions. Because very much so, our insides, our emotions, our subconscious influences our environment. That's why everybody's house looks different and everybody dresses different and so forth. It's a reflection of our insides. And but also, when we alter our environment, it affects and influences us emotionally. So this is a great little hacks in order to help tease yourself out of the inside and into, you know, more awareness and back to normalcy, so to speak. Anyway, like I said, not meant to cure or diagnose, just some little hacks on how to brighten up, how to break that spell. And the first one, brighten up, is right. Add some light. Don't sit around in the dark. Open up your windows. Get some light into your living space. Open your blinds and curtains. Get sunlight, specifically, if possible. If it's dreary outside and you're like, oh, it's too dark out anyways, open your curtains anyways. There's a certain amount of UV light that penetrates through storm clouds and thunder clouds, and believe it or not, there are certain bands in the spectrum of sunlight that help our brains produce serotonin, which is our happy, awake, and alert drug in our brains. So the more light you can get in, the better. I even recommend, as a long-term thing, replacing the bulbs in your house with full spectrum lights. I did, and I feel like it really helped us a lot here. Let's see. You know, I know this sounds really silly, but light up a candle or two around the house. Number one, it makes it smell good. Smelling good stuff. You know, aromatherapy isn't an answer to anything, but it does influence us a little bit. When things smell fresh and clean, we think a little fresher and cleaner, you know. It's that influence from your environment that I'm talking about. Now, some people even believe that candles and so forth put off positive ions into the air, which are supposed to be good for your mentality. It's true, but they don't really put off enough to make a big difference, like those Himalayan salt lamps and so forth. But anyway, try it anyways, right? Just give it a shot. It'll probably help in the long run. You know, it's why candles have been so strongly associated with rituals and religion and meditation and so forth. It has an effect on us, that little bit of flame. Music. Listen to some music. Turn that television off and put on some music. And I'm not just talking about noise or clatter in the background, but I mean some real music. Music that you like. Pick out some music that makes you feel good. Pick out some music that makes you relax. Pick out some music that reminds you of some good times or old times. Put on the stuff you listened to in high school or whatever. just find some purposeful music is the big thing. Try to get some music going that has as little interruption as possible. You know, radio today is filled with a lot of commercials and a lot of talk and stuff, which is fine when you're cleaning house and whatnot, but when we're trying to break that closed-in feeling and the cabin fever, let's be purposeful and mindful about the music that we listen to and put on something you really want to listen to. You'll be, you know, and also, and you know what, if you can't find anything good to listen to or you're looking for something new, there's this cool place on the internet called Weird Sisters Radio, WeirdSistersRadio.com. Check that out. I'm not even going to tell, I can't tell you how good it is. You just have to listen to it for yourself. Pick up around you. Now, I'm not talking about going on some big cleaning spree, but I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. But pick up the clutter in your immediate area. Your brain is wired to solve puzzles. Your brain is wired to sort, stack, and label and order things around it. It's just kind of wired that way. And what happens if you sit around in the clutter and the mess a little bit too long, your brain starts trying to figure out what to do with all that, and it tries to put it in some kind of order or put it in rows or put it in stacks in the back of your brain. And what happens is it gets like a computer program droning on in the background trying to solve all this, when you could just get up and spend about 10 minutes picking it all up, and suddenly that part of your brain goes, and you didn't even know it. Now, you know, it's like teenagers, you know, they sit around and they're like, oh, I like it like this. I like my mess. Well, you know, look at how teenagers are inside. I'm not saying that it's one's a cause to the other, but, you know, influence your insides by trying to change your outsides. Trust me, I guarantee that if you turn on some light some candles, pick up around you, put on some good music, and maybe even shower and get dressed. That's right, even if it's just clean pajamas or sweatpants, take a shower and put on some clothes, okay? First and foremost, if you're getting in that funk, if you feel the walls closing in and you're getting too itchy and carrying on, do your best, you know, get some stimulus. Jump in that hot shower. It's the activity, there's wet, there's sound, it's a change of rooms. Maybe you sing in the shower. There's a lot of stimulation going on there that isn't stressful stimulation, right? And so what happens is that kind of helps your brain decide, okay, I'm going to go from this state to the next state. And that state might be a happier or more healthy state than the one you were just a few minutes ago even. You'd be surprised at how effective it can be. The other thing is that when you get cleaned up and you don't stink anymore and you put on some clean sweatpants or whatever, you don't go to bed that night with that little twinge of self-loathing knowing that you're laying down in the same dirty clothes you woke up in this morning. You know, there's that little twinge in the back of your brain that kind of gets at you. You know, head those things off at the pass. Doesn't have to be every single day, but you know what? I know we're all just home and laying around, a lot of us, but it's still important to keep your hygiene up, especially if you have a partner. They'll appreciate it too. Now, I know we're spending an awful lot of time. I just saw the other day that we're spending 8 hours of streaming now versus the 4 we were all average, you know, doing before the pandemic and so forth. But I am going to tell you that when you feel yourself getting in that funk, when those walls are closing in, when you're getting the pandemic panic, turn off the computer. Stay away from the television. Unless you have something very specific to do on the computer, like go to work or watch a documentary about something, or if you have a special favorite television show that you're binging on a platform somewhere, that's probably okay. But the big thing is to avoid the news, avoid reality shows, and avoid commercials. So that's pretty much television right there. Because those things are very specifically designed to to draw emotions from you. They are meant to trigger excitement and reaction to, and you don't need all that emotional poking, right? Turn that stuff off. Like I said, we go back through the list, turn on some light, get a shower, put on some music, get away from the emotional poking of broadcast TV and commercial radio and stuff like that. Be specific about the media you consume when you feel the walls closing in. Make sure you're hydrated. You know, we kind of forget. We sit around and we're munching too much, and we're probably not drinking enough water and eating some food that, you know, make sure you get plenty of hydration. Pay attention to that kind of stuff. Even a little bit of dehydration can create some headaches or brain fog, and no, coffee doesn't really count. Do as I suggest, maybe not as I do, you know. Another thing you can do to help beat the blues a little bit is to try to accomplish something. You know, a little bit ago I said something about picking up your clutter. What I also would recommend is anything. Take the dog for a walk. Alphabetize your DVDs. Clean out that junk drawer in the kitchen. Do some laundry. Ball your socks and sort that basket of mismatched socks you know you got in the laundry room. Load the dishwasher. You know, years of Tetris can really pay off in that moment. Take small things. Don't, you know, this isn't the time to take on a renovation project of any kind, but pick out small little things like the things I mentioned. Maybe make a list of 5. And when you get them done, cross those off that list. I mean, really do it. Don't just keep it in your head. Write it on a piece of paper, and when you're done, scribble it out. Because what that does, it's a physical action that cements the thought in your mind. And what it'll do is it gives you this little sense of accomplishment. And that makes you maybe, hey, maybe I might do the next one, you know, and the next one. And at the end of the day, when you're, you know, sitting around, you're like, hey, I got this done at least today. And it's really good for your self-esteem. It's good for helping beat the funk, you know. It's also a great way of breaking the cycle so that when you go to bed with that feeling of a little bit of satisfaction, you don't get up tomorrow in the funk, you know. So we're trying to, that's what I'm saying, we're trying to break the funk from the cabin fever. Another great way is to reach out to someone. Call your parents, call your kids, call your buddy up. It's real important right now. We're all communicating like this a lot, but what it's doing is it's wreaking havoc with our brain's desire to look at people's faces, because half the time we're all running around with masks on and we're not looking, like I keep glancing down at my notes here. We're losing eye contact and so forth like that. Reach out to someone. If you do it by video, be sure that you're looking at the camera. Be sure that they can hear you clearly so that you can make that connection, you know. Or, you know, we've been avoiding the phone. Since texting got invented, hardly anybody calls anybody anymore. Listen for people's voices. Let them hear yours. Tone means everything, right? Tone means everything. So, you don't have to tell them anything big deal. You don't have to tell them why you're reaching out. You don't have to say, hey, I was in the funk, I'm going to call you, because then that makes them feel responsible for fixing your funk. Just call and say, hey, did you see that last season of Better Call Saul? You know, or whatever it is that maybe some shared interest you have. I touched my face. Anyway, another important thing when you get into that funk, when the walls are closing in and you're getting a little itchy on the couch, don't make any important decisions, okay? Don't decide to quit your job. Don't break up with your partner because their feet stink. Don't, you know, go color your hair, shave off your beard, stuff that's temporary and that will probably be fixed or grow out or already regretted by the time you know, get out from under the quarantine or whatever. That stuff's okay, I suppose, to break up the monotony, but just make sure you're not running out deciding to buy a new car, you know, or hey, honey, let's move. This isn't the time for that. We're all compromised right now. The entire nation is stressed. And that stress is like a computer program running in the background, bogging us down, and we're not at our best. So big decisions should be treated with wisdom and patience. And last but not least here, I want to give you some reframes for a few things. Reframe is just a different way of looking at things, and sometimes we can grasp that different way, and it helps take some of the pressure off of the first way we were thinking about stuff. This is heavy, right? You weren't expecting this, were you? Anyway, when you're sitting around and you're like, oh man, I have to stay home. I hate it because I have to stay home. Maybe you could turn that into, I get to stay home. I get to stay home. Think of how many times in your life you were like, oh, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go do this. I don't want to go see Aunt Grandma or whatever. You don't have to now. You get to stay home. How many times did you say, I just want a date night with my spouse? I want more time with my kids. I want more time with myself on the couch. You got it. Okay, our wishes all came true on that. Now it's terrible and tragic on how they came about. But a simple reframe for yourself at home really helps with the stress a lot. I get to stay home with my kids or my folks. I get to spend less money and time at the store. We're all like, oh man, I have to wait in line to get in Walmart, and when I do, there's lines in the floor, I gotta go certain directions. How about you look at it like this? I get to learn how to search and destroy and get the F out of there without spending all my money. You got to look at Walmart and places like that now as a search and destroy mission versus the afternoon's entertainment, right? We're not going in there and wander around and run into Bob from, the neighborhood or whatever. We're now going in there where I got this, this, and this, and let's get the F out of here, right? Learn to do that. Set some new habits, because think how useful that will be on your budget and your time after this is over. If you've practiced at it, you're like, okay, we're getting these 5 things and then we're getting out of here, right? So try to reframe some things. We have to learn to be comfortable with the unknown, and that's really stressful for lots of folks. Not knowing what's next, what's coming up, that can be really stressful. We also have to be prepared for the people that are telling us, or the people that we are looking to for advice and things, to be wrong. The government, the CDC, the health department, whoever, they're doing their best, but maybe they're just going to be wrong. So when we find out that people are wrong about things, we have to be understanding that this is a fluid situation. We don't know what's going to happen next exactly. We can try to predict, and we can try to plan for the worst and hope for the best and things like that. But most of all, we're having to learn to be comfortable with the unknown. I see the dog got tired of listening to me ramble. So the trick to being comfortable with the unknown is to focus on the things we do know. I know that I can social distance myself to try to help flatten the curve. I know that I can check in on my loved ones and make sure that they're being taken care of and haven't run out of things, and that we can consolidate trips a little bit. Like when I have to go for this, I will get you some stuff to save you a trip out. Maybe next time you'll make a trip out, and together we make half as many trips for each other. I can practice washing my hands and basic infection control. I can wipe down all the surfaces in my house, my doorknobs and my knobs and my remote controls and all of that kind of stuff, and the inside of my car. I can protect myself in certain ways. I can wear a mask or gloves when I go into public when I have to. There's a lot of things that we can do to make the situation better, and things that we do have control over. So let's try to focus on those in order to help us all get through all of this together. There it is. Those are my pro tips on how to get through the pandemic panic. Like I said, your mileage may vary. This isn't meant to cure or diagnose anything, but you know what? When things start closing in on you, these are some very real, practical, doable things that you can do. So in order to let you digest that a little bit, I got a Betty Boop cartoon for you that is absolutely wild. The cartoon itself has not been altered, with the exception of it's been run through a treatment by a group called creationchip.com, and they call these Michelangelos. And it's something to do with Adobe's Photoshop and whatnot. I don't really know. I went to their website and it was over my head. So I think they're from the future. But anyway, they have treated several public domain items and posted them on Internet Archive for the rest of us to enjoy. So without any further ado, enjoy the Michelangelo version of, I think it's called A Little Soap and Water with Betty Boop. And after that, we'll get on with some more fun stuff.
Is there anyone out there who still isn't clear about what doing drugs does? Okay, last time. This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs.
Crazy. You get 2 eggs, 2 fluffy hotcakes, 2 bacon, and 2 sausages for just $1.99.
$1.99? Are you out of your mind?
The Grand Slam, the most famous cooked-to-order breakfast in America, just $1.99.
Any questions?
Okay, Toots. My sweet little pudgy. Isn't he a clean doggy? Look what I got. A little salt, a little water, and a song. Start the day off right, you can't go wrong. Boop boopy doop, lots of joy. You will be smiling all day long. A little salt, a little water, and a song.
So, if you thought that Betty Boop was as beautiful as I do, like I said, there's more of their work from Creation Ship on Internet Archive. So this is my co-host. This is my Sadie, or our Sadie, I should say here. She is half dachshund and half chow. And no, don't ask me how that happened. I wasn't there. But she's my little Falcor. She's a beauty, but man, she's getting to be quite the pig here lately. So, she just lives to spread her hair everywhere. So, don't you? Anyway. Alright. She is not impressed with my show in the least. So, anyway, coming up next, I've found this incredible video. It didn't really have a title. It is from the Department of Defense, from a division called the Global Emerging Infections Surveillance Response Team. And they made a video in 2007 on how to respond and how to deal with a flu pandemic. It is creepily prophetic and also incredibly boring in spots. So I took 30 minutes, knocked it down to a nice digestible bite, and had a lot of fun with it too. Again, not my fart joke type stuff, but I just can't wait for you to see it. It's some really great stuff. So please enjoy this. Don't forget to wash your hands, and we'll come back with some other drugsploitation kind of stuff after that.
Our mission is to detect, monitor, and respond to infectious diseases that threaten our military personnel and their families. Many scientists agree that an influenza pandemic is likely to occur in the foreseeable future. This video will describe how an influenza pandemic could affect you and help you with your preparations.
A pandemic flu is a much more devastating event than an outbreak of the seasonal flu. The Department of Defense is acting to protect you and your family in the event of a pandemic flu. Our medical departments have been stockpiling medical items that will be needed, for instance, medications and personal protective equipment. Early detection of a pandemic flu is important because the sooner our public health experts realize there is a problem, the sooner they can identify the proper vaccine and take action to control the spread of the illness. But you cannot rely on these preparations alone to protect yourself and your family. Planning and preparing for a pandemic illness is everyone's responsibility. During a severe pandemic flu, up to one-half of the community could be sick and unable to work. This could disrupt virtually every aspect of daily life for up to 12 weeks. You need to start thinking about what you will do if the services you depend on are not available. Imagine the effects on your family and community if hospitals are overflowing, if schools, banks, and post offices are closed, if services such as telephone, water, and power are disrupted. Stores may close or have limited supplies. You may not even be able to rely on public transportation. Consider that the ability to travel, even by car if there are fuel shortages, may be limited. Preparing for disruptions like these to your daily life from a severe pandemic may sound overwhelming, but you can organize your preparations. Put together your own emergency kit. This kit will include items your family will need in any disaster. You need at least 2 weeks of food, water, and medicines in your home in the event of an emergency. You should also have a flashlight, batteries, and radio. These items need to be stored together, and everyone in your home needs to know where to find them. It is also important that your kit include personal and medical information. The best way to stop the spread of flu is to minimize close contact with the sick. When a pandemic flu hits, it will be imperative that sick people stay home, and that healthy people who are not needed to care for the sick go to work. If we all stay home out of fear of catching the flu, then critical services in this country will stop. During a pandemic, people may go to hospitals because they suspect they are sick with the flu. To prevent overload on our medical resources and to protect yourself from exposure to other sick people, only go to the hospital if you or one of your loved ones becomes very ill and needs medical assistance. Good personal hygiene is key to preventing the spread of flu germs. Always cough or sneeze into your sleeve or a tissue and throw the tissue in the wastebasket. Clean your hands often, and especially after coughing, sneezing, or using the bathroom, and before eating. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based cleaner. You may be asked to wear a mask to protect others. If the situation becomes serious, local authorities may use social distancing to prevent the spread of influenza. Schools, shopping malls, movie theaters, and other places where large groups of people gather may be closed. 2 other actions that public health authorities may take during a pandemic are isolation and quarantine. Basically, isolation is the separation of sick people from healthy people, and quarantine is the separation of healthy people who have been exposed to the flu from those who have not. Last but not least, stay up to date with the latest recommendations from public health experts. They will rely on the media, television, radio, newspaper, and the internet to deliver information that we will all need to follow to help contain the spread of the illness. You cannot rely on these preparations alone to protect yourself and your family. Planning and preparing for a pandemic illness is everyone's responsibility.
Many scientists agree that an influenza pandemic is likely to occur in the foreseeable future. Likely to occur in the foreseeable future. Likely to occur in the foreseeable future. By following the advice given in this video, you'll be ready to help control the spread of the illness and care for yourself and your family when the next pandemic strikes. Remember, it's everyone's responsibility to plan and prepare for an influenza pandemic.
What you doing, Granny?
Making myself a new pipe.
Oh, I got something here you want to cotton to. That banker fella gave them to me.
What's that?
Winston cigarettes. Try one, Granny. They is first rate.
Well, if you say they're really good.
Best smoking you ever had.
By thunder, Jed, that is good smoking.
Now try it this way, Granny.
Tastes even better.
You tell me these Winstons is the best tasting cigarette you can get.
Well, I may put away my corn cob. That's saying a heap for 'em.
You know, Granny, there just ain't no way of saying how good a Winston is. You gotta smoke one to find out.
Well, I can say this. Winston tastes mighty good.
Like a cigarette should.
And there you have it from 2007. They knew what was up, didn't they? It's gonna happen, he said. So, and he was right. So, the music from that was from Techno-Axe, great little royalty-free music site if you like heavy, techno-y kind of driven stuff like that. It's really interesting, really creative stuff. You can also find Techno-Axe on YouTube as well. Coming up is our feature. We have the feature, I guess you would call it, and this is called Narcotics, Fart of Despair. That's right. From 1967, I have taken the film Narcotics, Pit of Despair, and done my very best with it. So you have 5 minutes from now, because I've thrown in a little other government cartoon thingy that is definitely done by the same animators who did the Flintstones, because it looks like a Flintstone cartoon, but it's more of a Flintstone cartoon. Check that out. I didn't treat it in any way. It was bizarre enough all on its own. And after that will be the feature. Make sure your headphones are up or your volume is up for that. You got about 5 minutes before that starts to get any snacks or go make a pit stop. Go hit the snack bar or the chroma couch, either one. So I'll see you back after the feature. And really enjoy this. I'm having a good time, and I hope you are too.
When your children come home from school, is this how they see you? Too tired to give them the attention they deserve? Your trouble could be iron-poor, tired blood. And vitamins alone can't build up iron-poor blood. But Geritol can. Just 2 Geritol tablets or 2 tablespoons of Geritol liquid contain 7 vitamins plus twice the iron in a pound of calf's liver. In one day, Geritol iron is in your bloodstream, carrying strength and energy throughout your body. Check with your doctor, and if you feel tired because of iron-poor blood, take Geritol. Feel stronger fast in 7 days. This is Ralph Bellamy. Your health.
Some people can fall asleep any place. But if you can't sleep because of simple nervous tension or daily problems, take 2 Somonex tablets as directed for 100% safe, natural-like sleep.
Take Somonex tonight and sleep.
We have now covered the general information about the effects of drugs. Here is a summary of what you know. 1. How is the drug taken? 2. How does the drug change behavior? 3. What are the different behavioral effects of the specific type of drug? 4. Does the drug create psychological and/or physical dependence or tolerance? Later on, you will be given information on different types of drugs. To give you an idea of how this outline works, I will describe the effects of marijuana with the help of my assistant. Marijuana is usually inhaled from a kind of cigarette. Marijuana changes behavior by briefly stimulating and then depressing activity. It can also change behavior by creating mild hallucinations. Different people taking marijuana may see different things. Assistant 1 might have this reaction, whereas marijuana might cause Assistant 2 to see this. Some people do not hallucinate. Marijuana may make the same person hallucinate one time and hungry the next. Marijuana creates a psychological dependence. No tolerance is developed. Knowing how a drug is taken, how it affects behavior, and what kind of a dependence it creates will help you decision makers identify the type of drug disaster. You people are the decision makers. The data on the effects of drugs which you now have is only one area which you must consider in trying to figure out the nature of a drug disaster. There are other clues which you must consider. The diagram that you see is a summary of the different areas you must cover. In other words, for each type of drug, for example, LSD, narcotics, barbiturates, etc., you will be given information about need, source, use, effects, and medical treatment. Only when you have all this data will you be able to make an accurate decision about the type of drug being used. We can cross out drug effects, since you already know about these.
Since time began symbolic of evil, destruction, death. Out of the slime and darkness it comes to inflict its life-destroying poison on the careless, the unwary, the unprotected. No sane person would deliberately expose himself to its venom. No intelligent person would venture within striking distance of its fangs. Yet today, young people are flirting with a poison every bit as deadly as that of the snake.
Refresh yourself. It's intermission time. The concession stand is open and ready to serve you.
One of the potentials for illegal drug traffic is the school. Here, the connection can be found with these peddlers of misery who prey on the unwary, the uninformed, the curious, the thrill seekers. Most young people will continue through life as normal, responsible citizens. Others, the shunted and unloved, the unguided, the seekers of thrills and kicks are candidates for the slave world of lifelong drug addiction. But no one is immune. How does it happen? Where does it start? What are the signs? The pattern is generally the same. Take a lack of responsibility, the inability to make right choices, add to it ignorance and indifference, and top it off with a desire for escapism and kicks. The sum total is then conceivably found in the bennies, the reefer, the pop needle. Take John Scott. He'd be the first to laugh at the thought of his being hooked. Sure, before the last exam, he took a couple of bennies to pep him up, but so what? Everybody knows a couple can't do any harm.
What he should have known is that not only are barbiturates dangerous to his nervous system, but they destroy the inner resources he has now to overcome the obstacles of daily life. But he's too busy with his girl, his car, his sports. The little problems he has don't seem too important. He knows he's failing in English and on the borderline in math, but he's not really worried. He knows he'll be okay on the next exam. Sure, he'd be willing to come for extra instruction on Saturday, but Saturday's his practice day. He's doing well in track, and he feels he will do better. With more training and practice, he might even get to represent the school in the state finals. But word has come down that his grades aren't too good. Unless he pulls them up, he can be put off the team. A normal enough problem with a normal enough solution. Hit the books a little harder, get a little help, and pull them up. It will mean giving up some fun and weekends, but he knows he can do it. If necessary, he can cram a few days before the exam and even pep himself up on bennies. He handled them before, and he knows where to draw the line. He knows he'll never go beyond that step. But someone else knows John has taken his first step toward drugs. Someone who is willing to help him take the second and the steps where eventually he becomes a member of that tight society of drug addicts. To John, it seems perfectly natural and innocent to bump into an old classmate. He hasn't seen Pete since he dropped out of school last year. From the looks of him, he seems to be doing well on his out-of-town selling job. What John doesn't know is the selling job is pushing dope, and the long absence from prison. Their accidental meeting calls for a little celebration, and Pete has just the thing. There's a little private party going on tonight, plenty of fun and laughs. Take a break, little. It sounds good, but today's his Father's Day off, and John needs his help with some school problems. If there's another party sometime, maybe he can make it then. But Pete isn't interested in sometime, or maybe, or squares. If you want to swing, call him. Right now, he's got to split. He's got to find fish ready to be hooked. Victims to supply him with money for the heroin he needs today and tomorrow and tomorrow. Compared to Pete's problems, John's are nothing. Poor grades, expulsion from the team, the frustrations and responsibilities of growing up seem important only to himself. All he needs is a little help, a little guidance, a little understanding. But the help, the guidance, the understanding are not there when he needs it. His parents are away just when he was counting on them to be home. His problems must wait for tomorrow, or he can solve them tonight alone. Only he can go just so far alone. During his childhood, he was loved, helped, protected. Suddenly, that's all gone. Now he's in a man's body, he's expected to be a man, to stand alone on his own 2 feet. This he will gladly do, but he needs a little push. He needs someone to help him over the hump of schoolwork that's troubling him. Today, he's had it. The studies can wait until tomorrow. He knows he can finish them then. What he doesn't know is behavior habits formed long ago are now taking over. The practice of putting things off, making excuses, shirking unpleasant tasks is strongly etched in his character. It's Saturday night and everyone else is out having fun. It's the best excuse in the world to join the party.
Minus 50 Grad Fahrenheit. Cinque Mortis. Cinque Mortis. Cinque Mortis. Cinque Mortis. Es ist kalt in Ihrem Kühlschrank, Es ist kalt. Cinque Mortis. Es ist kalt in Ihrem Kühlschrank, Es ist kalt. Es ist kalt. Es ist kalt. Cinque Mortis. Cinque Mortis.
To John, the party is swinging. Just the thing he needs to pep him up. The stage is set, the principal players are in position, the curtain is up. John doesn't realize it, but he has just been cast as the star fall guy in a real-life tragedy. The excitement of Helen and several beers have taken effect. Inhibition and caution are forgotten. When Helen suggests they have a few more beers, he's all for it. Why not? Everyone else is doing it. To refuse would be square, and that terrible label must be avoided at all costs. Besides, he's never been high on it before, and he never will. He can handle the stuff. The only trouble is he can't handle so much. Under the influence of the beer, Helen comes through as much more friendly. He's flattered by her attentions and her interest in him. If he could see her arms scarred by the needle marks, he would know she's a hype. If he could see her police record, he would know she works for Pete. Pete and Helen know their parts well. They've been through it before, and they know the time is right. Throw out the sucker bait. It's time for the next step. The next step is the garage. There, some of the gang are really blasting. That's where the real action is. Come on and take a look. Take a trip from Squaresville. Live a little and see what it's like for yourself. The senses are dulled just enough to be reckless. Helen, the music, the beer, the promise of excitement press in on him. Now, curiosity has to be satisfied. And why not? It can't do any harm to look. The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite. Outside the boundaries of their phony world of kicks is the ever-present possibility of discovery. This must be avoided at all costs, for discovery brings with it the penalties of society: shame, arrest, prison. So destroy the evidence, leave not a trace, burn it in paper trash. That way, they can deny possessing the illegal marijuana. They can say the flaming can is part of a game. They can lie. They can swear. This time, the gang's lucky. It's not the law, or discovery, or problems. It's just their supplier, Pete, with his #1 chick, and a new guy looking for kicks. Forget it, man, and get with the countdown. Shake this square world and blast off for Kicksville. To John, his first pot party looks exciting. Everyone seems to be having fun. Best of all, there are no parents, no other adults, no one to interfere with the fun.
The feeling of importance, of belonging, of putting one over is taking hold. Pete intends to tighten that hold, to squeeze it, to hook it, to lock it in. Now's the time to introduce the joint. But Pete has learned the rules well. A pusher can never be caught with the stuff on him. Instead, he must leave it, stash it, get it from a flunky. This is the test. The time to separate the man from the boy. John's willpower, individuality, character are slipping down the drain. In their place come the old behavior habits and excuses. Everybody else is doing it. If he can handle bennies and beer, he should be able to handle a few harmless puffs, just to see what it's like. The natural defenses are crumbling. The barriers of caution are beaten down. Drag it, man. Try anything once. Fly. You can't get a habit from weed. Quit whenever you like. Don't be chicken. Come on, man. Get with it. Under the proddings of the gang, the effects of the atmosphere and beer, the desire to belong, he chooses to go along. John surrenders his dignity and lays his future on the chopping block. Not whether it's good or bad or right or wrong. But if he stopped to think, he would see the stupidity of it all. Now he's too involved to think. He's having kicks. He's away and flying. Up, up, out of this world. But everything that goes up must come down. When John came down, he landed with a thud. Due to the effects of the alcohol and the late hours at the party, the following day he was too tired, too sick to study. Now, facing another school day, he finds the same problems, the same responsibilities are still with him. As well as arguments, traffic violations. And as the days go by, he looks for more kicks, more escape from the troubles he brings on himself. Each time he feels the need for kicks or he's troubled, he returns to marijuana. He knows that marijuana isn't physically addicting. He doesn't know he's become psychologically dependent on it. But he's not worried. He knows he can handle it. In time, the continued use of marijuana causes psychic and physiological changes in his body. While under the influence of marijuana, his blood pressure increases. He feels unusual hunger and his central nervous system changes. His perception of depth and dimensions is radically changed. A low curb appears as a precipice. With a distortion of sight and sound, time is suspended. Fast action appears slow. The whole world is distorted. When the big blow comes, angry, resentful, humiliated, sinking into the pit of despair, and he needs help to pull himself out. But where should he look for it? Whom should he ask? The coach won't give him a break. The teacher? He's already failed him, so why keep on with studies? His parents? Religion? What a laugh that would give the gang. Those resources and others are available to him, but he thinks only a pal can help. In his present frame of mind, the bigger, the better. Psychologically, he's ready to make the big C. His pals have introduced new props, and he's anxious to examine them. Caution, intelligence, normal defenses go up in pot smoke. Hank is a real hype, a hooked mainliner beyond hope. He is long past getting any kicks from marijuana. His body is conditioned to heroin, one of the most powerful, dangerous drugs known to man. So dangerous that its importation, even for medical uses, has been banned in the United States since 1925. Every day, the cost of his habit rises. $80, $90, $100 a day and more. Every day, he must have increasing amounts of the drug. To get it, he will lie, steal, murder, even trap the innocent. The outfit that he uses is the drug addict's only friend. With it, he can exist in his living hell until the next fix. Without it, he will suffer the unbearable tortures of withdrawal from the drug. To prepare the venom for his bloodstream, he empties heroin onto the spoon. Every grain is precious and cannot be spilled or wasted. A few drops of water are added to make a solution. Then the small wad of cotton, usually dirty, is placed on the spoon to serve as a filter. The solution is then drawn through the cotton filter and into the needle. This cotton is saved and used again and again. For if the addict is ever caught without the drug, he can cook the cottons and squeeze out a small amount. This is it then, the big time, the main line, the high point of every drug addict's existence. Of every 1,000 hypes who ride the toboggan to hell, only a few ever get on. Of course, Pete is careful not to let John see the actual needle pop. That is hidden, ignored, bypassed. Instead, only the fun, the kicks, the real blast is played up. The tourniquet is quickly tied and secured. The vein is enlarged. The hype is ready. All sanitary precautions are ignored and normal hygiene protections are out. All addicts run the risk of infecting themselves with tetanus, hepatitis, venereal, and other diseases. But in a race with time to stop withdrawal, he doesn't think of such things. Right now, all that matters is the dirty needle, the germ-infested cotton, the poisonous drug. By now, John is psychologically ready for stronger drugs. To his confused brain, the idea of joining Hank in a bigger kick is highly enticing. It would be all right to try it just once, just to see what it's really like. The only thing is the ugly-looking needle, the vague, uncertain fear of maybe getting hooked. His pal laughs at his fear of a little needle. A small pot doesn't hurt. It only makes you fly. Besides, only squares get hooked. The hip guys are just occasional users. You blast every once in a while and quit whenever you like. A few pops now and then can't possibly hurt. The idea of a real kick without getting hooked takes hold. John isn't afraid, and he certainly isn't square. The chain reaction has reached the end of the line. He's handled alcohol, goofballs, marijuana. Now he's positive he can handle one little pop. But something seems to have gone wrong. The excuse of, "it can't happen to me," was all right for the first pop and the second and the third. But the more heroin he shoots, the more tolerance his body builds, and the more he needs. He needs a shot now, and he needs it badly. But this is the last one. After he's feeling better, he'll quit. Never touch the stuff again. Hank immediately recognizes the withdrawal symptoms in John. Nervousness, nausea, watering eyes, running nose. Too bad, but his pal Pete isn't around to fix him up. Hank needs every grain he has for his own fix. There's nothing to do but wait till Pete comes with more stuff. In the meantime, sweat it out, pal. You wanted kicks? Now pay the price. At first, it all seemed like such harmless fun. It was hip to go along with the gang. But where's the gang now? Why aren't they with him when he needs them most? Too late, he realizes that by joining to belong, he's more alone than ever. This is the one trip he must take all alone. Only he himself can experience the unbearable agony of withdrawal. Alternately, he will feel chills and burnings. Violent muscular cramps will rack his tortured body. He will vomit and then retch in uncontrollable convulsions. The agony will reach its peak in 36 to 72 hours, then continue for 2 more weeks. In the meantime, he must obey the rules of the drug addict's world of secrecy. His screams of pain can bring discovery. Worst of all, they can bring the law and forcible denial of the hell drug addicts must have. So clear it, cut it, strangle it. In the jungle land of narcotics, it's fight, claw, kill, and every man for himself. The demons of withdrawal pains have increased their torture. They run rampant through his body and prepare to multiply themselves hundreds of times again. Ironically, the only relief from his demons is through the very poison that originally hooked him. The same heroin that will bind him ever more tightly to his living hell. But the blessed temporary delivery is not given through any noble, charitable motives. It's just the final step in Pete's carefully laid plan. He's made another junkie and another source of money. Now, with the hook in deep, he twists it to make sure the victims will never get away. Now that John has experienced the horrors of withdrawal, he will make sure he gets his junk every day. His pal Pete will be glad to supply, but only for money, plenty of money. For in the vicious racket that preys on human misery, there is no trust, no credit, no mercy. It's cash on the line or the unbearable agony of withdrawal. How to get the money presents tremendous problems. To secure this money, John must now do things he would never dream of doing before he was hooked. First, he sold his wristwatch, then his hi-fi. Today, it's his mother's wear. Although always pressed for more and more money to support his habit, John must preserve outward appearances. Every day, he must go through the motions, the pretense of living a normal life. No one must ever know he's a hopeless junkie. But the law enforcement officers, ever alert to the deadly drug traffic, are about to know. Helen, the swinger, the hip chick of the gang, has been picked up for shoplifting in a downtown store. Her previous arrests for shoplifting and prostitution, her addiction to narcotics, weigh heavily against her. But the shame, the stigma, the prison sentence she faces are of second importance now. Her immediate problem is getting another fix to hold off the terrible withdrawals. In police custody, she knows a fix is impossible. So she will settle for the next best thing and cooperate with the law. She will sell the gang, her friends, her soul for the help she needs to face the coming withdrawal tortures. Swiftly acting on her lead, those of the law strike back, and another small tentacle of the drug octopus is cut off. But the infected victims still go on. With a police record to haunt him as long as he lives, John uses the leniency of the law sometimes allowed first offenders. So, he enters a government hospital for the very best treatment modern science can give. Months later, the agony of withdrawals, the care, the treatments are behind him. Now that he's kicked the habit, he can try to pick up the pieces of his broken life. I wonder if Pete and Hank are out of prison yet. It won't do any harm to stop by and just say hello.
For over 75 years, people have saved money with Geico. Oh, sorry.
Here we go, from the top, and action.
For over 75 years...
Keep it together.
I'm good. For over 70... What are you doing there? Stop making me laugh.
There you have it from 1967, Fart of Despair. You know, I spent countless hours on that over the last couple of weeks, and it still makes me laugh out loud when I watch it. All right, coming up, it's time to send the kiddies to bed, send all the little ones out of the room, because I've got some doctor sick for you. That's right, the man with the injections and the infections, down with the sickness. That's right, Sick Laboratory. And I'm telling you, it's a laboratory because this shit is on fire. Coming up next, right here on Cerb's Vor20 Special.
It started with marijuana cigarettes.
Come on, it's my turn next. Where'd you get it? I know a guy. 3 for $1. Let me try.
He was determined to be one of the gang if it killed him. And it almost did. You have crossed every barrier to heaven. You are beyond it. And you'll never see it again.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high.
I want to talk to you about a plant. It has a Spanish name. It's getting in the way of my teaching. It's called marijuana.
Marijuana? Hey, what's that, another new girl in school, Doug?
Yeah, it's very funny, Jack. No, you've been very funny lately. Yeah, when you're stoned, everything's hilarious, isn't it?
Well, how do you know how it is? Have you ever tried it?
Yeah, I smoke.
To lock it in. Now's the time to introduce the joints. Everybody else is doing it. If he can handle bennies and beer, he should be able to handle a few harmless puffs, just to see what it's like. The natural defenses are crumbling. The barriers of caution are beaten down. Drag it, man. Try anything once. Fly. You can't get a habit from weed. Quit whenever you like. Don't be chicken. He's away and flying. Up, up, out of this world.
facts are, at this time, there are no known damaging physical effects from the use of marijuana.
Do you have trouble falling asleep because of your Adderall? Have trouble waking up because of your sleeping pills that you take because of your Adderall? Are you left in a fog from Xanax and constipated by Vicodin? If you answered yes to any of these questions, it's time to talk to your doctor about weed. Weed is a once daily, twice daily, am I right? Supplement that's been scientifically proven to treat many of the side effects that you're usually prescribed pills for.
I can't tell you how many of life's little moments I missed out on because of the constipated fog I was in after my doctor prescribed Vicodin and Xanax. My daughter's first steps, walking her down the aisle. I was done being spaced out and messed up on the toilet all the time. That's when I talked to my doctor about weed.
Weed is non-habit forming, no matter what big pharma or your middle school DARE instructor tells you.
It was tough seeing my dad in pain after his accident. It was just as tough seeing him zonked out on prescription pills. He was so forgetful. But now, he won't stop remembering stuff.
You remember that first episode of Lost? And they were in the jungle, and you were like, what is that? And then they looked back on it, it was a polar bear? I don't think they ever explained that.
Symptoms of weed include extreme nostalgia, hunger, drowsiness, spontaneous laughter, and a newfound appreciation for the songs you already thought you liked.
Hey, you guys remember Ace of Base? That was a cool group.
Symptoms of weed do not include insomnia, loss of appetite, nausea, headaches, muscle spasms, inflammation, seizures, physical dependency, or the risk of overdose. So if you're one of the 119 million Americans taking prescription drugs and suffering from these symptoms, weed might be for you. And if you're not taking prescription drugs but just want to chill the f*** out, weed might also be for you. Weed. What side effects, man?
Oh, and there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends. That is the conclusion for the Vor20 Special for 2020. And holy crap, what a year 2020 has been so far. Am I right? Yeah, that's what I think of it. Anyway, I hope that you will all stay safe. Be sure to wash your hands, take good care of one another, check in on your loved ones. You know, if we're going to get through this as a whole, we're going to have to act as a whole now, okay? We're all going to have to figure out how to make this work. We have a new normal to figure out in the future here coming up. So, you know, let's take this as an opportunity to maybe make ourselves all a little bit better. It's a great idea, right? And that's the biggest idea that I'd like to share with you all today. Take good care of yourselves. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Take care. I love all of you. I made this for you guys that are seeing it for the first time on the premiere. And man, have I had a fun time making it. And I'm probably just out of gas watching it with you tonight too. So hello from the past and salutations to the future. I love you guys.
Oh, son of a gun. You thought I was going to say son of a bitch, didn't you?